Oh, it's that time of the year. We are on the road to the Derby. Barry, my friend, reality sets in this weekend. It really kind of started last weekend with the Colonial race. We had the Virginia Derby, but this weekend, all of the big Kentucky Derby prep start. This is our last final round all the way through. You and I are going to take a look at Turfway Park for Saturday. They have the Jeff Ruby, but it's Louisiana Derby Day and Jeff Ruby Stakes Day this week. Next week, Florida Derby Day, you'll be there at Gulfstream Park, and also Arkansas Derby Day. April the 4th, Santa Anita Derby Day, Bluegrass Day, Wood Memorial Day, all three of those. And then that final last prep, if anybody needs some extra points, Lexington Day on April the 11th. What is awesome about the graphic I'm showing you, we have a Kentucky Derby Road to the Derby package at shop.drf.com where you can get the PPs for every day that I just mentioned, not just those races, the whole days. For Turfway for Saturday, we're going to look at the Stakes Pick 5. That's in the package. You get the Louisiana Derby Day, Fairgrounds PPs for Saturday. That's there. Both of the races, the race days I talked about next week. Gulfstream Park, Florida Derby Day, Arkansas Derby Day. Both of those are included. PPs for the full day. You'll also get clocker reports for Florida Derby Day and Santa Anita Derby Day. So, because we have the clocker reports at Gulfstream and at Santa Anita. And you also get Kentucky Oaks Day PPs, Kentucky Derby Day PPs, and clocker reports for both of those days and betting strategies for both of those days. So for $100, you get the PPs from now till Derby Day for all of the big days coming up. And you get those extra clocker reports and betting strategies. I mean, you are going to save a ton of money. It's almost like 1.5 times what you would pay if you did it all individually. Barry, I know you're going to be playing most of these races, right? Like, might as well just put the 100 in, save yourself like $60 right off the pop, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be doing it anyway, so why not take advantage of the savings on all of it? Because you get a lot with that deal, and you have stuff in the holster, stuff you can, just add to your toolbox. So it's a good deal all around, if I say so.
And also, you get the advanced Kentucky Derby contender PPs. So as the Kentucky Derby point standings go out each week, the PPs are updated and you have access to those. So you can start looking and handicapping once the preps are over. Then you have a couple weeks where there's nothing between that last round of 3-year-old races and the Derby and Oaks. You can start your handicapping. You can start looking at all those past performances, dive on into them. So that way, when everything is ready for Oaks and Derby Day, you're already done with a lot of your handicapping there. Check out the Road to the Derby package. This is one of my favorites because I think you save the most, and it's just all the big races that people are already playing into. If you haven't checked out morningline.io, if you are into stocks, this will be right up your alley, especially if you're a handicapper and you like horse racing and you're into stocks. You can buy, sell, and trade shares of horses that are running in big races. Blackout Time is pointing to the Arkansas Derby. The Taken by the Wind is pointing to the Fantasy. They just drew the field for that. You can buy in on those horses and actually own parts of them. I hung out with a lot of the folks from Morning Line IO last weekend at the NHC. They are super excited. They're brand new. They just want to really get their name out there. So if you're someone who likes to play the stocks, you like to handicap the races, dive into this. Check it out, morningline.io. It is free to enter, and we have one of those great daily racing form sales right now all the way through Sunday. Check it out. Spring into savings. Use that coupon code SPRING26. A lot of housekeeping to get to there, Barry, but now you and I are ready to rock and roll, my friend. We have an all stakes pick 5 to take a look at Turfway Park for Saturday. And if you want some help with Fairgrounds, David Aragona and Marcus Hirsch took a look at the Fairgrounds All Stakes Pick 5. That's on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. So go over there, check that out. That's actually why I chose to do this one with you, Barry, because it's like, oh, you know what? Marcus and David already took a dive into the Fairgrounds Pick 5. Let's me and Barry take a look into the Turfway Park Pick 5. And let's start with the Rushaway. It's going to be race number 8. So you'll have races 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it'll end with the Jeff Ruby. There's also a pick 5 that connects some of the big races from Turfway and from Fairgrounds on Saturday. So if you're interested in that, take a look at that at your on your ADWs wherever you wager, and you can see it connects a lot of the big races. So if you're already handicapping Turfway and Fairgrounds for Saturday, maybe you want to play that pick 5 that connects them, and maybe it has some of your stronger opinions there. So the Rushway, Barry, a lot of times is a race for 3-year-olds who aren't quite ready to prep for the Derby yet. Maybe they're a little behind. Maybe they're not quite that good. Maybe they're, more lightly raced and sort of figuring things out. Some talented horses in here, but horses who were kind of a cut below the Jeff Ruby Stakes runners, like Steel Imperium, for example. It's not as if he ran poorly in the Battaglia Memorial. He was 5th. Same thing with Valiant. He was in the Leonidas. It's not like he ran poorly there. He was 4th behind Street Beast, full effort. You see Gray White, full effort, some of the same names that these two have faced. I start with these two because those are the kind of horses I'm describing, that they're good. They've shown us some ability. Maybe they're not quite ready yet to, pick up some Kentucky Derby points and try to get into the Derby. But these could be horses that peak towards the end of the year or the second half of the year. These horses have shown us something. They're kind of the measuring sticks to start with in here.
Yeah, what's funny on these kind of days, especially at Turfway and synthetic in general, but on a big day at Turfway, you're going to get horses that have not run on the synthetic at all that will probably stand a better chance than what maybe their odds will be. But it's hard to pinpoint those kind of horses because you'll see a lot of these, or the bettors tend to gravitate towards horses that have done well on the surface. And in races like this in particular, you'll get some horses that haven't run it on it at all, either turf and dirt, but no synthetic. And those end up being sort of interesting horses. Like in this race, for example, the one JJ Gray, I think is very, very interesting. This horse came off a layoff from October 24th to March 5th and kind of blew it out when stretching out on the dirt. Now they try synthetic. I mean, 4-1 is maybe a little bit on the lower side, but I think that race is comparable, and that horse probably improved in that layoff. But on the flip side, they were getting Lasix that day and probably got a perfect trip. So I'm not too sure what to do with a horse like that. But
well,
a horse like,
what's funny is you're just pointing this one out. This horse is actually available on morningline.io for like $6 a share. JJ Gray. He's one of the morning line horses. They have a lot of the Kenny McPeak runners. So if you're looking at this horse and you think he has a chance to run a big race on Saturday, you can actually go to morningline.io, purchase a share of the horse, and then if he runs well in this race or wins, that number is going to go way up. Right? It's just like you bet, like you're investing on it and you're going to purchase this. And then all of a sudden you purchase your share for $6. And then if he wins and all of a sudden he's going to go run in like the Pat Day Mile, or he's a horse that maybe points to a race like the Preakness or something like that, all of a sudden those shares double or triple. And then you can get out if you want. You can stay in. It's pretty cool. It's just like a stock market. But the Kenny McPeak horses are the ones that you'll see. And I just wanted to point it out because I saw that they posted yesterday. JJ Gray makes his next start in the $250,000 Rushway, only available on Morningline.io for $6. Price is subject to change as the race gets closer. They also have Universe running in the Louisiana Derby this weekend. But you pointed out that JJ Gray, he's intriguing. He's one of these trying synthetic for the first time. There's another one in here, Barry, that actually two that kind of fit the profile you were talking about, the two to the outside, who are both trying synthetic for the first time, right?
The 8 in particular, I mean, they didn't really get a good go of it in the Fountain of Youth. It was, they were up against it. And just like you were saying before, they were just in too tough.
Got to see where you stack up, right? And you're, okay, you know what? Those horses at the tip top of the 3-year-old group, they're too tough for us. Let's regroup. Let's see where we really fit.
Exactly. And I think this is a much, much better spot. But the horse that I like quite a bit in here is the 2 Trendsetter. This horse has run good every time out. The only time they didn't was when they got wide trips. So if you go through the past performances, they won the first 2 races in restricted company at Colonial. 2 pretty decent races. Then they go into a $946,000 stake at Kentucky Downs. They were out wide 3 to 4 wide. The Comet is in the form, and they were carried out. So you could put a line through that one. Then in the Indian Summer at Keeneland, lost to Schwarzenegger, who was the buzz horse at the time and was probably a lot better than most of the 3 or 2-year-olds at that point. Now they turn 3. They run a good race in the preview at 6.5, comparable to what they were doing before the layoff. Then in the last race, the Spectacular Bid at Laurel, just didn't get a good trip. They were wide the whole way, 6 out of 7. They were in the 6th hole out of 7 horses and just didn't get a great run of it. Now, back on synthetic, gets a way better post position on the stretch out. I think this horse is sitting on a good race.
Trendsetter, 6-1 on the morning line. Horse that Barry is going to have in the mix for sure. I want to mention the 7, Tartable. Shout out to Danny over here. Yeah.
Royals.
Oh, absolutely. Great ball player. So Tartable will try synthetic for the first time. You go through this field. I don't know how fast they're going to be going early on. There's a couple that are like want to be forward, but they're not speed demons. Like JJ Gray was close, but he's not exactly a horse who has been really like need the lead or a send horse in any of his races. You've got the 5 Valiant. He's been forward, but if you just look at the fractions, he's not going that fast really in any of those races. He's kind of getting the lead. And he'll go and take it, but he actually sat off the pace when he won, and he won his second start, or he won his second career victory, which was in December. So I don't think he's like gonna
super
line
speedy.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fast, and if nobody else goes, he'll be close, but I don't think he's gonna push you. Same thing really with the 6 Rhythm Lady, right? Got the lead going 49. I would not be shocked to see the 7 coming out of these sprint races that have been going way quicker and some actually tougher races. I would love to see him be forward in this race and be either on the lead or sitting second. We'll see if he takes to it. We'll see how good he really is. But just looking at some of the races he exits, I actually like some of the horses he's been facing. Igniter has won 3 of the last 4.
Sure.
Igniter just came back to win the Wingfield, earned an 85 Beyer speed figure. There's nothing wrong with that race where Tartable was finishing behind that one. Even earlier in his career, Ewing in that career debut was super impressive. Won that race by 12, earned an 88 Beyer speed figure that day. And Tartable was in that race against a really tough one. And he didn't really fire in his second start, which was another tough maiden race behind Talking, Further Ado, who we saw come out of that to win by 20 lengths in his next start and then win the Kentucky Jockey Club. And he had a trouble trip. He ran really well, actually, in the Tampa Bay Derby. I don't know if it's as much trouble as just like kind of a tough trip where he performed well. Maybe others had a little bit better trips, but he's certainly a nice horse too. And I'm just kind of comparing the horses who Tartable has been facing, the races that he's exiting, that they're quicker sprint races. And a lot of these horses have come out of kind of more plotty route races. I'd love to see this horse second off the short break, just be close in the race early on, put yourself in the mix. Chad Summers can absolutely still get horses to fire. Tartable is my interesting horse in here, Barry, at a bit of a price. But yeah, I mean, we went through a lot of this field in here. JJ Gray is a contender. This is a tough race to start the pick 5.
Very tough.
It's really competitive. It's very challenging. Like all of the horses we mentioned would not be a shock at all. I agree with you on the 8, Bull by the Horns, 3rd start of the form cycle. All you got to do is put a line through that last race. Just put a line through the Fountain of Youth. And then the other 3 races, they all make a lot of sense. They're really solid. He has good foundation. So Barry mentions the 2 as a fun price horse. I thought the 7 Tartable is a good one. We both agree Bull by the Horns is a horse that you want to have in the mix. And then I kind of started with the 4 and the 5 as measuring stick horses. What do you want to do with these horses that fit well in here, but they probably won't be great prices? And it seems like there are maybe a couple other more intriguing horses in here that could be bigger prices. So depends on how you're going to set things up the rest of the way in the pick 5, but we'll give you a couple in here in the 2, in the 7, and the 8 that might not be your top betting choices. Let's flip the page to the Animal Kingdom. We remember he had a very good day on this day many years ago. Animal
Such
Kingdom.
a good horse, man.
Gosh, you just kind of he gets a little, like, forgotten about a little, because you don't talk about
Because he
him.
really turned into a turf horse
Yeah,
kind of after the Derby and stuff. But
but
he was really good on the
turf,
turf.
synthetic, dirt, anything, he could literally run on all of them, and he just wasn't around long enough. That was probably
Yeah.
the problem. He had a really good peak, a really good A game, but Animal Kingdom, shout out to him. This is a 6 furlong sprint race for 3-year-olds. It's going to go as race number 9, $250,000 up for grabs on Saturday. So again, raced it. You go through and you can make cases for a lot. Towards the outside, you got a Wesley Ward runner here, outfielder, who he's raced 4 times. 2 of them, awesome. The race at Deauville was fine. And then in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, he just popped and stopped. And, that was back in October. But he will be quick. You kind of have to figure out what you want to do with him. Right to his outside, you've got Hometown Bound, who is 2 for 2. The problem here is you have these 2, and you also have Longshoreman and Ganas, and all of them haven't run in a few months either. So they all could be a little bit fresh. Curious, how the race sets up from a pace standpoint, because it does look like a lot of these horses want to get going. Who do you want to start with in here, Barry?
I do like the 8 quite a bit. Hometown Bound. I think they're going to get a really, really good trip from the outside. I think there's enough speed in here where they can get a real good stalking trip.
And it makes sense. You like Trendsetter too in the race before, right? You talked about Trendsetter. You like that race. Shipmate, we're going to see Shipmate actually is entered in the Texas Glitter at Gulfstream this weekend in a stakes race. I previewed that one yesterday with Ashley Mayu on the Daily Racing Forum YouTube, if you want to check that out. So that Hometown Bound race, this is a strong race that they exit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. And that race, actually, the preview might be the best race of anybody on the page. Yeah. That's why I think that horse is going to be tough. If we get 3-1, that's really exciting, because I think this horse probably should be favored. But the other one that caught my eye was the 4, Archimedes. I think they rode this horse differently last time. And if they can get that kind of trip, I think they might be tough, especially, with the switch to IRAD. It seems like the intent is there. Like they really want to win this race, getting IRAD aboard this horse. He doesn't ride for Maker all that much, but when he does, they definitely hook up and win. Maker does really good work on synthetic, funny enough. And I think this horse can do it with the right trip. And I think they might get it. 8-1 is a great number, but I don't think we'll get that because of IRAD. I'd say probably half that, maybe 9-2-ish.
A couple others in here that are interesting to me. So the 1, I'm absolutely using the 1. This horse, the debut sprinting was good. And absolutely. Then the second star, we see this happen sometimes. He just flattened out a little bit. And honestly, he's 4th. He's sitting about 2 or 3 lengths off. He gets caught in between horses. He loses a little bit of position inside. Then he angles around 5 wide, and he starts to make this big move, and he just flattens out. I did not think it was a bad performance at all. Now you get the cutback. The rail draw is always a little tricky, especially with horses like this with their running style. But there are versions of this race where he takes back, and a lot of the horses to his outside could be pushing each other. And if it does set up where they're flying early, he could be one that comes from off the pace. So I'm including the 1, Small Town. Completely agree with your thoughts on the 8. I don't know what to do with the 7. I don't. Like this is a really tricky read for me, because I do respect his ability. I do think that race at Keeneland beating Oscar's Hope was pretty good. The debut was pretty good. I think there's some other speed in here, like on both sides of him. Like I don't
project that horse to get an outstanding trip. It's going to be tough, because they're going to have to either go fast enough to kind of beat Hometown Bound to the trip they want, or kind of come off the pace,
which we haven't seen them ever do. And I mean, the 3 is fast. Longshoreman is really quick.
Absolutely.
This horse can fly. The 2 is quick. Ganas. Like, this horse won't make it easy on them, especially down on the inside. I think those 2 are going to try their best to hold position. Talked about Archimedes too. If he wants to go, he's shown he can go sub 22 if he wants to, and he breaks alertly, and Irad goes on with it. So I just don't think it's going to be that easy for outfielder. I was looking, I prefer hometown bound, just being outside of him. I think it gives him more options.
Well,
Kind of look over and see what happens, right?
You have to figure with outfielder, at the short price he's probably going to be, he's going to have to do something he's never been asked to do before, like come from behind. Not saying that that's impossible or hard, but it's still something different.
At a short price.
At a short price. That was the other thing, is that he's a short price, and it might not be the best thing to be doing in a race like this. Now, coming out of this race, I'm sure he's going to improve whether he wins or loses. So that's probably the gleaning hope out of this, is that this horse runs well here and then takes another step forward, but we'll see. I think they just drew in a weird spot with all the speed in this race, and it's going to be tough for them.
I wish I liked him a little bit more here, so I could. Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti. Shout out! I'm pretty sure I heard Tony Callow do this on one of the either on a broadcast or on calling the horse in a race at some point. So a little lose yourself here with Eminem, but I wish I was trying to make a better case for old Mom spaghetti here, but I just think this horse is in a little bit tough. So I can get a little rap in, I'll do it, but I wish I had a chance to rap more about Mom spaghetti.
You and me both.
Exactly. Let's flip the page, Barry. We anything else you want to hit on here?
No, I think we hit what we needed to here. I mean, I honestly, there's like a core of 4 horses I think can win. It would be the 1, 4, 7, and 8.
Yep. And Barry started with the 8 hometown bound. I went to the 1 as the fun price, small town, and I very much agree. Some of the horses down at the 4 is kind of interesting with that versatility too. So best of luck in the Animal Kingdom as we turn the page to the Kentucky Cup Classic. This is a strange race, and and it's fun to handicap because when you go through the field, there aren't many horses that you can completely dismiss in this race. I think starting with the outside runners, Wadsworth is going to go second start back off of a long layoff. You can see he's been super unlucky. He raced in September of 2023, then had like 15 months off, comes back in November, races in November, December, and then again has like 14, 15 months off. So he's just had a tough time stringing races together. But when he's been out on the track, he's got very little he's done wrong. He's proven at Turfway Park as well. He lost to Tappet Shoes right on the wire, and it just looked like a horse who was tired and who needed the race, and Tappet Shoes got a perfect trip there. Mercante won this race last year. He got in awesome form last year for about 5 or 6 races, and then following the Grade 3 Arlington, he actually had to miss a little bit of time, and when he showed back up, it wasn't like he was bad, but in the races at Ellis and Kentucky at Keeneland, he just wasn't quite as good as he had been earlier in the year. And I think that was because he missed a little bit of time. He missed some works. He wasn't in the best of form then. Now they've given him time to come back and start over. Those 2 horses I start with because I think they both make sense. They both fit well in this race. But Mercante hasn't run since November, Barry. And for Wadsworth, they could both be a little bit wide with the kind of trips that they're hoping for. I think they both want to be close. Mercante wants to be closer than he was in his last couple for sure. And so they could be hooked a little bit wide, not 100% sure what kind of trips they get. It looks like Willie D's and Tickled Quist both want to go. And then you've got a stone cold closer, Honor Marie, who will tail off form and then win races every now and then that look incredible. And maybe he likes the synthetic, and maybe he's a horse who is going to have a synthetic career. He's only been on the synthetic surface twice. I thought this was a fascinating race. Like Utah Beach is a multiple graded stakes winner. He's just a little better going like long on the turf, but he was 4th in this race last year. And he's coming into the Brendan Walsh barn for the first time, who has just been rolling over the last few months. So I thought this was a really fascinating race to kind of go through these horses. Who are some of the ones you want to start with?
Yeah, I tend to think that these marathon distances always create chaos with bettors because we don't see enough of them.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
not enough form for us to like really know who these horses are that well, like we do with some of the other horses in other divisions.
right, and I know this is a mile and an eighth, but a lot of these horses are cutting back from like a mile and a half, mile and three eighths. So you're going to get some weirdness, and I really don't think a lot of these horses uh, really want to go this far or beyond, even though they've been running it. Like for example, endlessly. This horse we haven't really seen since the stakes back in 2024. I
And
mean,
he
they've been
ran
running
well
in
on the
tough
synthetic.
spots. But if you tell me that this horse can reverse form and win this race, I wouldn't be surprised.
Me neither.
You obviously know the talent is there, but when I went through this field, it kind of looked like it was pretty straightforward, and the horses that will be bet will probably be tough, which would be the outside horses in Wadsworth and Mercante. Um, if it were a bigger field, I would downgrade both of them, but I think there's enough horses in here to keep the pace honest up front, uh, and those horses aren't very good, which would be Ticklequist and Willie D's. I think they're just light in the class arena. But with those two up front, Utah Beach might slide into a great trip.
Because from just a class standpoint, he's as good as anybody in this field.
He definitely is. I mean, we've seen it before, but the question marks are A, how is he going to react to the new trainer?
Yep.
And B, is this actually too short for him?
Is this like a starting point almost for Brendan Walsh, right? New barn.
Exactly.
I'll put him in this race. Maybe he can still run well and finish third, and then we can get an idea on where we're going to go with him next, right? Or is he just good enough to still beat this field? I could see it going either way.
Right, exactly.
I just want to make sure the price is there, right? I don't want to take less than about what he is on the morning line, like 5-6 to 1. If there's a bunch of horses around 5-6 to 1 in here, that feels like it should be that kind of a race. To me, the horses that I had no idea what to do with were the 1 and the 4. I thought they're kind of weird upside horses. Like Honor Marie was the buzzy horse after the Louisiana Derby. Everybody was talking about him because he was late in the Louisiana Derby. Thought he would be like a Belmont horse. He didn't run bad in the Belmont. And look, that race, like if you're just looking at his Belmont, look how good that it looks on paper looking back right now. Finishing 4th behind Dornick, Mindframe, and Sierra Leone. That's a really good 4th in the Belmont.
Yeah.
He doesn't string good efforts together, really.
Right. That's what I was going to say is Honor Marie, for me, would be a toss because of the fact that he's very inconsistent. I mean, he kind of runs the same race, and sometimes he wins, but most of the time he doesn't.
So this will be a race he just needs help. You know, can the 4 and the 5 push each other? Does maybe Wadsworth try to go? Okay, that changes the dynamic of the race a little bit, and that'll help him out. If that doesn't happen, then he's going to be in some trouble. Ticklequist is going for his 3rd in a row. We don't really know how good he is. He's gotten pretty soft trips on the front end here. Doesn't feel like he's going to get that kind of trip with Willie D's right next door.
Well, there's something to be said about Willie D's, though. This horse has been keeping pretty good company.
He has.
I mean, you see Gould's Gold in there, Hayes Strike, Banishing, right? Rattle and Roll, who's a decent horse and went overseas and ran good a couple of times. There's a scenario where this horse wins the battle and then wins the war. Basically, if they go head and head with Ticklequist, and if you think Ticklequist is just not classy enough, Willie D's could probably keep going. And depending on how fast they're going up front, he could stick around and be part of it at the end. So I wouldn't completely dismiss that horse as being in the speed duel, but you do have to factor in they're not running on Lasix, and he hasn't run that great without Lasix. But without that, I think he still stands a pretty good shot in a race where maybe some of these need longer.
This is the toughest race I thought in the sequence. I really did, just because
it could go a lot of ways.
If you feel like the 8 and 9 are solid, I'm not going to be against you in that. I have a tougher time completely dismissing most of this field. Like you were talking about endlessly. I can absolutely see him now third start of the form cycle. He gets back to the synthetic. Now he's fit, and this is what he wants to do. And honestly, his last 2 races, I'm not going to say they were good. They were better and like
recently,
back towards like a better race from him. Some of his races before, like he was not close. He wasn't
lost.
Involved at all.
Yeah.
Those are at least better performances from him. And maybe that moves him back in the right direction. I don't love Tapit shoes in here, but he's proven at Turfway. He just got a great trip last time out when he won. Either the 4 or the 5, if one of the 2 of them snuck away, they could absolutely win this race. The 2, it might be one of the classier horses. I think Utah Beach and Mercante are probably the 2 classiest horses in the field. And then Honor Marie, if it all of a sudden Honor Marie runs really well here and we look back and go, oh, wow, okay, 2 of his 3 races now he's run well on the synthetic. Maybe he found a surface that he likes where it plays better to his running style, to where, he can kind of sit back late and on the dirt, maybe he gets a little too lost against some other really good speed horses, right? I could see that being different over this synthetic surface that he's already run well at. To me, I thought this was just the most fascinating and tricky race of the sequence. Barry, you feel a little more solid about the outside 2, right? Wadsworth,
yeah, just a little bit, but I think this board is going to be really close. Everybody's going to be similar in odds. I would say we might get a 2-1 favorite, if not 5-2. But everybody's going to be around the same price. I mean, you can make cases for a lot of these horses.
I agree. And so maybe if you're playing like a late pick 3, or if you're playing this race individually, if you feel that same way and you see one of these horses way higher than they should be, that should be your play. If you think it's a competitive race, I will include Honor Marie in some spots just because I'm wondering if the 1 and the 7, I'm going to throw into pick 5s. I think they're like, these could be interesting horses in the synthetic. Like I always thought highly of those horses and they've kind of gone away. Maybe it's still in there somewhere. You were kind of hitting on that with Endlessly. And I've been kind of getting there with
honestly, with Endlessly, those last 2 races, there was loose leaders pretty much. Cabo Spirit and Mondego kind of slipped away from him. You can excuse those. And if you like this horse, I mean, there's a lot to like. He likes it at Turfway, for example, and he likes the synthetic. It's just natural that you would think this horse might improve in this sort of situation. And honestly, this might be a drop in class from what they've been running with.
Yeah, you're right. The Kentucky Cup Classic, Grade 3, $300,000 up for grabs. It's going to go as race number 10 on this really challenging Turfway Park all stakes pick 5. We've got the Kentucky Oaks points up for grabs and then Derby points up for grabs following that. This one is the Bourbonnette Oaks. It's going to go as race number 11, $300,000 up for grabs. We will have a scratch of Maximum Offer, who is entered at Fairgrounds and is going to run at Fairgrounds. So Maximum Offer is out. That does take out a major player out of this race. But I think you can look at some of the top contenders in here. We can start with the 1 down on the inside, Resplendence, who has won 2 in a row, just won the Cincinnati Trophy and looks like one of the quicker horses in this field. You've got the 5, Scratch It, who is multiple stakes placed, was second in the Grade 3 Surfer Girl last time out over at Santa Anita. You also have Bless Her, who I think will take a good amount of money coming off that really impressive win on the synthetic over at Gulfstream Park. Go Gray's stable is always going to get some action. Lovely Gray is the 9 at 6-1. Some of them are the top contenders in there, Barry. I like a horse who's a little bit more of a price that we can get you in a moment. But where do you want to start here?
Yeah, I'd like to start with the first horse, Resplendence.
Yep.
And you see the Cincinnati Trophy race there where the horse basically got a perfect trip. And that's what I chalked up that inflated buyer number of 84 to be. Now, with that being said, this horse could actually get that same exact trip. And it's actually even more likely now that Maximum Offer is not in this race.
Yep. There's not that much early speed in here.
There really isn't. And I think you need to be close up. And it really came down to the 1 and 2 for me. Resplendence, who's definitely going to be on the lead. They need the lead. and they should get it here fairly easily. But I also like the 2 and Resist at 12-1. Was way out wide the last time, and finished up pretty strongly after winning the first 2 races on synthetic, going 6.5 and then a mile, going a mile and 16th, getting the post position relief this time. I think they're sitting on a good race with that bullet on March 13th. Definitely, definitely excited about the 2 in here.
Inside couple for Barry, and this horse got parked last time and 2 starts back. Even when she won,
right,
she had a really, really wide trip as well. So just could be a totally different type race for her, saving ground down towards the inside. The horse who I like a little bit is the 11, Lorelei Lee. Shout out Lorelei and the Gilmore Girls fans out there. I think the debut was good. It was going 6 furlongs. She wins nicely. And then on February 21st, that second start, she is a good start. She's just about a length off, but she's out in the 4 path. Then at the top of the lane, she's in the 6 path.
Yeah.
She still keeps trying to win, but it was just another one of those really, really wide trips. The winner of that race, Cadenza, actually earned an 84 buyer speed figure. It's like if that filly was in this race, she'd be favored.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Oh, and so I'm like just looking at the race that she comes out of. It's almost like she's coming out of like, and she's getting class relief almost after who she faced. Pure Eloquence was 4th. So Lorelei Lee actually beat Pure Eloquence, and then Pure Eloquence came back at Gulfstream Park and won this race last week, March the 12th, with an 80 buyer speed figure on the turf. So the race has already come back strong. And there's not a whole lot of early speed in this race. She's drawn to the outside. I'd love to see her just sitting close from the outside. I think Resplendence is going to go, but I think this gal could sit very nicely from the outside and sit a nice trip. So the 11 was one I wanted to mention. What do we do with the 8, Barry? The Graham Motion runner, who the 2 turf races, the first one was okay at Laurel. The Tampa race, she had some trouble. Then she puts it all together. Big effort on February 6th. She wins at Gulfstream. It's nice that she's got the synthetic win. And when we look at her pedigree, her dam was a multiple graded stakes winner going long on the turf. So there is a little bit of class there for her. She doesn't really have any monsters in the direct pedigree, but these horses haven't raced a whole ton. Not like there's not a lot of horses with experience. So what do we do with Bless Her, the 8 for Graham Motion?
It's a real conundrum there with that horse because she ran so well on the synthetic. But you see that it was first time Lasix, which could be a factor, but it's hard to tell. I mean, she ran good enough, obviously, to compete here. And you know, that 79 buyer wasn't necessarily due to a perfect trip. She just pretty much outran that whole field. She's a tough read in here, especially in a race that to me could be wide open, especially if the 1 just folds and doesn't run that kind of race that they did the last 2 times. It could get really wacky. I mean, after at least for me, after the 1 and 2, this gets really wide open. You know, even the 10, even though they're not probably going to be a big price, but they've been keeping really good company. You know,
and put a line through that last race. They had legitimate trouble early in the race, and the horse that won, Light One Up, made this little move like at the top of the lane and exploded, and like nobody else was really close. Like put a line through that last race, and you're playing her back off of the Blue Norther and the Durrani before that. We were just talking about Michael McCarthy in the 10th race with Endlessly. He has this filly, Endlessly, and then we're going to flip the page in a minute, and he's going to have one of the top contenders in the Jeff Ruby. So it could be a really big Saturday at Turfway for Michael McCarthy.
Yeah, certainly can. He's got some live ones in a few races on this card. But yeah, I mean, but as far as the 8 goes, I think the 8 honestly looks just as good as the 5. Scratch it.
Agree.
You know, they were just running in different kinds of races, and you hadn't seen Scratch It since October, which is kind of concerning.
Me too.
You saw this horse in February, Bless Her, and they ran what I think is a comparable race against, you know, good enough competition to be competitive here. But I wouldn't take too short of a price on Bless Her, though.
That's the key. Look at some of the horses they faced. Abigail, who had won back-to-back races and then tried Graded Stakes Company at Tampa. I think the 11's a player. The 8 I'm going to use in the mix. I very much agree with you. I thought the 1 was probably the horse to beat just because the way they could maybe dictate things from down inside. I'm going to throw your 2 Resist into the mix too. I was a little colder on Scratch It. Maximum Offer is out. Lovely Gray has gotten herself into some trouble. And I wonder if she's that kind of filly who, like, she's run some good races, but there's been like 3 times now where she's gotten herself into trouble. And I almost wonder if, like, and that happens.
I think it's a factor of the running style. I
exactly. Right. The running style and like the demeanor of certain horses, where if you're not that fast and then you're not like as maneuverable and you can't hit holes, though things are going to close around you a lot, and you're going to have to go around, or you're going to have to take up and go inside. And sometimes it's just certain horses they're not as maneuverable, right, as others. And they're going to have running lines like this. So I wouldn't be shocked if she comes running well again for a second or third underneath, but I feel like I like others more on top with maybe a little more upside.
Yeah, this is another tough race. I mean, with an even bigger field, so it could go a lot of directions. I think this might be kind of the pivotal race in this pick 5 sequence.
And it doesn't always end up this way as we move to the Jeff Ruby Stakes, where sometimes you look at a sequence and it can look really hard and it chalks out, or vice versa. It looks really chalky and like 1 or 2 of those big chalks go down and the thing pays crazy. But if you were comparing this sequence to the fairground sequence, for example, some of those fairgrounds races are really short and are lopsided, going to have really heavy favorites. And that doesn't mean they're going to win, but just comparing the 2 sequences, like if you watched David Aragona and Marcus Hirsch do their preview of the fairgrounds pick 5, Marcus and David's tickets were really short. They have strong opinions in races where they're going to be like the first or second choice. So in those races, they're not going all that deep. And this is a totally different type sequence. Like every one of these races,
no clear standouts in any of these races.
That's why, right? So it's very, very different. Whereas, I mean, we could still beat some of those heavy favorites at fairgrounds and have it pay, but it just looks like things over there have a lot more form to them. And it looks like there could be a lot more chaos in a lot of these races here. I mean, we're looking at Full Effort as being a major player here, but he's not exactly someone who is like a horse who is a monster by any way, shape, or form. I mean, he's in fine form right now, back-to-back runner-up efforts. You look at the 6 Medici. He might be the lone speed in this race. He's kind of interesting from that aspect, but he's coming in from out west. Argos is a grade 1 winner. He won the summer on the turf last year as a 2-year-old. And then Stark Contrast is another one of those Michael McCarthy runners that we were talking about. McCarthy had said he was pointing this horse to the Pasadena, and he ended up having to miss like a few days right before the race. Not a big deal at all, but just really bad timing for him. And so then he was trying to figure out what to do. And he looked around and said, you know what? This race from a timing standpoint makes sense. I'll see if how good this horse is with shipping. We'll see if he likes synthetic. That can open things up for him. Obviously, it could get him Kentucky Derby points, but this move has worked before with Michael McCarthy. He won this race with Endlessly a few years ago.
Yeah, Stark Contrast has ran lights out. I mean, that race they ran against Stad in the awesome. Breeders' Cup Juvenile was impeccable. Then they come off that win or that second place finish and run a bang up race in the Eddie Logan. I think this horse is probably the horse to beat, but the post position makes it that much tougher. If I were to single a horse in this sequence, that might be the one. But I wish you could get 4-1 on this single rather than like 5-2, because I'm not really sold on Stark Contrast winning from out there in this race. I think that horse probably will be better than most of these horses when it's all said and done. But again, one race at a time. This one, they drew poorly, might get a difficult trip. They still could win because they may be superior, but It's tough to take at a short price.
Agree. I will probably try to get to a few in here. I respect stark contrast. I mean, it doesn't always play this way on paper. I think there's a chance Medici could be gone in this field. I don't know how much early speed there is. If we're using stark contrast as like a measuring stick from class standpoint, Medici wasn't too far behind. Was in races with horses like Plutarch, who's a graded stakes winner. Medici will probably be in the mix for me. And the one, Turf Star, the blinkers come on, should be able to sit a nice trip from the inside. Those two are going to be in the mix for me, Barry. Once you get away from stark contrast, who are some of the others that are on your radar?
You know, you were talking about the pace scenario and not very much speed. Black Hornet is interesting to me. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about horses trying synthetic for the first time. Uh, Brendan Walsh does okay with these types. And this horse seemed to found something on the turf at least. And if that can translate to the synthetic, this horse might be in the mix. And 12 to 1 is a good price, and you should probably get it based on who's riding this horse versus the entire, body of the connections. Uh, People will tend to go with the jockeys, and they'll bet horses like Argos in stark contrast versus those that might play a horse like Black Hornet. So you should get a lot of that 12 to 1. And I think that horse might stand a pretty good chance to win this race too.
So price opportunities here, as we're talking about there being like a murky pace scenario up front. Black Hornet could be one to push it. I spoke about Medici being one to push it. I never know what to do with horses in spots like this, Barry, like Chaos Agent, right? The really impressive debut winner who only has one start and then has to face graded stakes company. I mean, we're seeing it with the horse like Emerging Market in the Louisiana Derby on Saturday. Also, we saw it with a couple horses at Tampa Bay Downs a few weeks ago, right? They had come off of big debut races where they either won or they ran really well, earned a pretty big figure. This was a good effort, first time out of the box for this horse, but it is asking a lot in your second start to step up and face graded stakes company and a lot more seasoned horses than you. It's not like there's anybody in here that's so scary and overwhelming that you would just say, yeah, Chaos Agent wouldn't be able to compete with that horse individually, but it's more of a putting it all together, right?
Yeah,
And
sure.
shipping. This horse has to come from fairgrounds, only one start, ship over, face all these horses that are a little more seasoned. What kind of trip is this horse going to get? All that. I mean, there's certainly talent there, but is it enough to overcome a lot of the hurdles that this horse has trying to go second start and then right into a graded stakes?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to get your price. I mean,
That's the
I
key,
don't.
right? Totally agree.
Yeah, because if that horse gets bet down, I would be very skeptical. But again, at 10 to 1, Rosario, really nice figure in the debut. Why couldn't they get better second time out?
And this is, I think, one of those trainers too. Like Josie Carroll isn't shoving a horse into a race they're not ready for. That's a patient barn. They don't really get like Derby fever, I don't think. And a lot of times they know that they can run horses at Woodbine and have like a really nice career for years and years. So there's some ability here, and this horse is a little sneaky. Depending on how you set your tickets up, if you are coming into this race spreading out, throw in the 8 just in case. Like if this is already a spread out race for you, and maybe Chaos Agent wasn't on your radar, throw that one in along with some of the horses that we mentioned. Medici, who could be on the front end. Stark Contrast is certainly the horse to beat in here. I would agree. Barry mentioned a big price of Black Hornet, who could get a nice trip up front if there's not a lot of other early speed in here. And the one for me, Turf Star, would be interesting with the blinkers coming on. A horse who I've always thought pretty highly of, and I think maybe a little bit better than some of those speed figures might suggest. This horse last time just didn't. It wasn't like a brutal bunch of steadying and everything, but the trip just wasn't great. It was wide into the turn and drop back, and it's kind of in between. So Turf Star is 10 to 1. we'll see what price Stark Contrast ends up going off, and if he can maybe complete a very nice Saturday for trainer Michael McCarthy. The Jeff Ruby Stakes, the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes, it's going to go as race number 12 on Saturday at Turfway Park, and it is going to be a Kentucky Derby prep race. And don't forget about the Road to the Derby package, where you can get the past performances for all these races that we just previewed, the full card for Saturday at Turfway, the full card for Saturday at Fairgrounds. Those are the first two big last round preps coming up. So pretty much, Barry, the horses that are winning these races, they're going to be in the Derby for sure, winning all these big preps. So we'll get a really good idea over the next few weeks who are going to be some of the top contenders, what things are going to take shape a little bit. I think the Florida Derby is going to be a big race in determining who we think is kind of towards the top of the list, because we've got Commandment and we've got Chief Wallaby. We've got some really nice horses, I think, in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, I mean, even in the stakes, that race has proven to be pretty decent as far as Derby preps go. The horses that have come out of there have run pretty good. So it's going to be interesting, to see who wins this race and how they come out of it, especially when they go over to Churchill and start training to see how they take to the dirt and such. But very, very interesting set of races here.
We appreciate all of you hanging out with us. We wish you the best of luck at Turfway Park this weekend, or at Fairgrounds if you're playing over there. Don't forget Fairgrounds. We have a lot of previews on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. You check all that out. Spring into Savings sale will roll through Sunday, March the 22nd. Take advantage if you like to use the Daily Racing Form, past performances, clocker reports, all that stuff. Take advantage right now. And morningline.io, they have a runner this weekend at Turfway Park. We were just talking about in the Animal Kingdom a little earlier on, or in the Rushaway, race number 8, JJ Gray. They'll also have Universe this weekend over at the Fairgrounds. Check out morningline.io. Buy, sell, trade, own the game. Barry, my friend, always a pleasure chatting with you. You'll be heading to Gulfstream. So next week, you and I will take a look at the big Florida Derby Day card at Gulfstream Park earlier in the week. We'll get everybody set up for that one. Tell us about Horse Racing Happy Hour with Louie and where we can find more of your work.
Yeah, that's where I'll be. Horse Racing Happy Hour. Every Friday we do SoCal Saturday, which goes over the entire Santa Anita card, or Southern California card. It's Santa Anita right now. Every Saturday. So we went over the card yesterday with the San Luis Rey. Should be a good event there, but you can always catch me there and here with my man Gino.
Always appreciate your hard work, my friend. Best of luck to you, Barry. Best of luck to all of you out there this weekend. And as the big prep races roll on, we say goodbye and we say hello to Joey Cleveland with the call to post.